On the jungle world of Kratos 7, the Catachans are ambushed by a force of Drukhari near the outlying outpost of Delta 8. Will the Imperial Guard Astra Militarum forces survive the assault, or will the Drukhari take many slaves back to the Dark City? Let's begin. Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast battle report. Today my opponents and I are playing on this little 4x4 table. It's a 50-point the Skari mission, and it's a really cool little themed jungle board where the forces of the Adepts Mechanics and some Catachan support are going to be raided by the Drukhari as they search Outpost Delta 7 for the primary objective. Okay, so we're going on to the armies, the deployment, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think will happen. Okay, so 50 points of Catachans and Adepts Mechanics. So my opponent's going to go over the story behind the army and why they are searching through Outpost Delta 7.
As you can see here, you got a tech priest Dominus. He's in search of some archaeotech that has been located. It's been a jungle death world, so he's requested some aid from the local Catachan regiment. The Catachan 51st have graciously given him access to a unit of infantry, an outrider detachment, and a unit of ogrins just for some extra heavy bulk.
Awesome. So we got 2 scout sentinels, 4 armored sentinels, a infantry platoon, primary psyker. Perfect. We've got the Ogrin, some nice old models there, and a unit of Mechanicus as well with some Skari, and we've got the Dune Crawler, in this case Jungle Crawler. Okay, on to the Drukhari. The Drukhari, led by the succubus of the cult of the Bloodied Blade, has led her witch cult main force to surprise the Mechanicum raiding or search party with the Catachan support. With a pack of Hellions, beast pack, mandrakes sulking in the shadows, her unit of elite witches with her as well, a set of Trueborn sent by Archon Skari to oversee the raid, and some Kabbalite warriors that have come as well to participate in the real space raid. 50 points versus 50 points. We're playing the Scouring. Okay, so the jungle outpost of Delta 7. We don't know which the primary and which the bad objectives are so far, but we put them all down in different areas of the table. And I have picked this table side, and my opponent is going to start deploying first. Okay, so we've got 1 back here in this little hilly outcrop, 1 near this cave, 1 in this little forested area down here. We also have the Aquila Lander and the fuel depot, as well as the outpost itself of importance. Okay, so now the game begins with us alternating deployments and then beginning the game. After deployment, the Catachans and the Adepts Mechanicus, in their widespread scouting formation, arrive at Delta 7 to find the Drukhari in wait, ready to ambush their forces. The Drukhari have deployed first and will choose to go first unless the Catachan can seize the initiative, and with quick reaction, the 2 scout sentinels will try and do some redeployment before the game begins, but after the seize the initiative roll. That is a 6. And the Catachans seize the initiative on the Drukhari, taking them by surprise. The Catachan 51st has advanced after seizing the initiative. It seems like the cult Mechanicus knew that there was Xenos afoot. So the whole army advanced essentially and rocked this raider with my witches and succubus into oblivion, forcing the succubus and her girls out of the transport. Now they are on foot and they have lost 1 model. from the rest of shooting. That is first blood, but it did soak up all the hunter-killer missiles and all the last cannon shots and pretty much everything. And then I did pass cover saves and armor saves for the Cabalite Warriors and the Beast Pact. And so now we're moving on to Drukhari, turn 1. Oh, also, we did the scouring, and I have the important objective here, that's worth 4 points, and the crappy objective here with 1 point. So nobody needs fuel, and apparently whatever this was carrying was very, very important. Okay, so moving on to turn 1. It is, that's exactly what he came for. The Dark Eldar knew this all along. Ha ha ha.
Nope, damn it.
Okay, so the Drukhari, turn 1, saw the Drukhari advance, and try and engage as much of the enemy force as possible. So what I used was consolidation tactics to engage multiple targets to make sure that if they retreat, they cannot shoot for at least another turn. So I've engaged across the line all the sentinels, the onager, the Skari have taken some casualties due to morale, and the witches made a long charge into the Ogren. There are 3 Ogren left, as well as the Catachans back there with the Primaris Psyker. So we're moving on to Astra Militarum, turn 2, with most of their fire support engaged. We shall see what they pull out of their hats in order to make the Dark Eldar pay for their transgressions. Okay, so the Catachans have spread out. The Astra Militarum have pushed forward towards the primary objective, forcing me to deal with the 2 sentinels. The Onager and the other sentinel have moved back. We also had the Warlord charge into the Succubus and take 2 wounds, while the Witches have taken 1 casualty and killed another Ogren with the Impaler, which is a cool damage 2 weapon. And then everybody here charged into the Beastmaster over here, and the Beastmaster has taken 1 wound, but he killed a guardsman in return. So we're moving on to Drukhari, turn 2. Let's see what happens after this. End of Astra Militarum and Mechanicum, turn 2. Oh no, sorry, end of Drukhari, turn 2.
Drukhari.
Yeah. So we had the Venom charge into the Onager and hold him up, and then this heroically intervened. So he's got what? The Venom has 1 wound left, so mission accomplished. The blasters from the Trueborn took out the Scout Sentinel, while these Cabalite Warriors did absolutely nothing. They're just looking pretty. They're going to get charged now and tied up for the rest of the game. The Hellions have just continued their reign of terror on the right flank, and they have put 2 wounds on that Sentinel, and 4 wounds on that Sentinel, sorry, and 0 on that Sentinel, but they've surrounded the Sentinel so he can't actually get out of combat there. Oh man, it's intense. And then we've got 1 Sentinel that's completely fine with the last cannon. And over here, I passed a lot of saves with the 6+, and so did his general. So his general would be dead right now, but he passed 3 6+ resilient saves. Okay, we're moving on to turn 3 for the Catachan Astra Militarum. We did have this Catachan unit fail a morale test horribly and decide to book it. There was only like 4 models left, and they just telltale and ran. Okay, the battle for Delta 7 is continuing. Astra Militarum, turn 3. We had this Sentinel lose a wound, but charge in and tie up these Cavalite Warriors. Over here on this flank, we had 1 Sentinel, Armored Sentinel go down, and 1 take 4 wounds from the Hellions, and then 1 Skari died, so 1's alive there. I did kill his Warlord with my Archite Glaive, now with the +1 weapon skill for the Power from Pain, and I have put 1 wound on an Ogren, and I only have 4 Witches left there. In his turn, he smited my Venom that was in combat, so it died. Then they piled out the Trueborn, and then a combination of these 2 units just murdered all the Trueborn, which was a great little play right there. And I still have my Beastmaster back here who had fallen back, all the way back here away from the Catachans. So we're moving on to turn 3 for the Drukhari, and out of the shadows arrive the Mandrakes. Okay, Drukhari turn 3. Wow, a lot of stuff has been happening in this game. The Hellions, they can fall back and shoot and then charge again, so they shot at the Skari and then charged in and killed the Sentinel. So they're just holding off in that objective and getting me line breaker. The Mandrakes finally showed up and shot into here, doing 1 wound onto the Onager. The Beastmaster tried to kill the 4 wounded Astropath, but failed. And then the Astropath sucked his soul out with his force weapon. And then over here, I've done 3 wounds on this Armored Sentinel, and I killed 1 more Ogre and put 1 more wound on the Bonehead. But my Warlord is only has 1 wound left, so let's see what happens there. And in this combat, another wound was taken by that Armored Sentinel. So we're moving on to Astra Militarum turn 4. Lots of death and destruction. The Onager is ready to be shooting up here, but let's see if the appearance of the Mandrakes changes tips the scale more into the Dark Eldar favor. Okay, so Astra Militarum turn 4. Wow, what a crazy turn. The Onager Dooncrawler moved around the giant tree of life and shot into the Hellions, killing 6 of them, leaving 1 alive. Thank goodness I'm now immune to morale. I did lose my Succubus to a well-placed smite in the psychic phase, sniping out my character, and I've lost another witch. So I have 2 witches left in combat. And over here, nothing happened. Okay, moving on to turn 4, and this is definitely a nail-biter as Warlord has gone to both players. We both have Linebreaker right now, but first blood is to the Astra Militarum. Let's see what happens as we move in to the end of the... Drukhari, turn 4. Wow, this has been an absolute blast of a game. The Mandrakes moved up, did 3 wounds onto the Sentinel, then charged in and did the last wound. So they consolidated towards the Onager, which was the closest model. These guys had fallen back, so now they're in a position near the 4-point objective. That's huge. That could probably be game right now. And then my witches back here, they have survived everything thrown at them with their power from pain, ignore wounds, and their 4+ dodge save, while this Hellion has moved back here into cover just to try and escape the Onager Dooncrawler that's trying to find him. So moving on to turn 5, could be the end of the game.
Top of 5, yeah.
Okay, so we're out of command points. It's the end of the top of turn 5. The witches died to a pistol shot and a smite, so they died. This Sentinel has fallen back and is now controlling that objective. This Onager moved up and shot that Hellion to bits out of rage and then killed 1 of the Mandrakes. So now we're moving on to turn 5 for the Drukhari. And at the moment, I have a 4-point objective. He has a 2-point objective. And he has First Blood and Warlord. I have Warlord, and I do not have Linebreaker, so he's got 1 point on me there. So it's a 3 points to 4 points game right now. So it is a tighter game than it might seem. So we're moving on to the next turn and see what happens after. Yeah. Okay, as the battle comes to a close, almost. It's only the end of turn 5. The Mandrakes have moved up, put 2 wounds on the Onager, but tied it in combat, so it can't shoot next turn. It's forced to fall back to take an objective. Then we have this unit here has taken the 4-point objective, and the Lance failed to damage the Sentinel. But let's see if it goes on. If the game ends, it is a Dark Eldar victory. If the game continues, it is up for grabs because it's so close. And on a 1 or a 2, it stops. The game continues to a fateful turn 6. Let's see what the Catachan 51st can pull out from under their big hat things. Okay, so that is at the end of turn 6. It was a lot of moving and advancing. The Onager has moved onto that objective in the forest. The Astropath, or whatever, Primary Psyker, smited 1 of the Mandrakes, and the Ogren has advanced to take that objective, and then this Sentinel has advanced as well to take this objective. So, we're moving on to the bottom of turn 5. Turn 6, sorry, turn 6. And it's the Drukhari turn. So, what I have to do here is move them to here to hold that objective and that objective, and then have to try and either stop that from shooting or take another objective. So we'll see what happens after that. Okay, so end of turn 6. The Mandrakes almost killed the Ogren Bonehead. He's got 1 wound left, but I didn't kill him. And then they charged into the Sentinel and have gone back here to have 2 bodies against 1 and that objective, and take that objective. Meanwhile, the conga line of Cabalite warriors has captured these 2 objectives, and I did succeed in putting 2 more wounds because the Plaster and Lance finally hit and wounded, and they each rolled 1 for damage. So it is the end of the 6th turn. Now I get to roll the dice to see if the game continues. On a 4 or more, it goes on. I definitely want this to stop right now. Down to a dice roll. The game goes on to turn 7. And we'll come back after turn 7. Oh my goodness. End of the game. So, at the end of the game, we had a smite and shooting not eliminate enough of these Cabalite warriors, which means I hold on to the primary objective. The Mandrakes did kill that armored sentinel. 4 wounds and 3 failed armor saves. Kills the last sentinel. So, 2 points for that objective. 2 points for that objective. Warlord and First Blood, the Astra Militarum and Mechanicum forces, take 6 points. The Dark Eldar Drukhari take 4 points for the primary, 2 points for that objective, and they also killed the Warlord. That is a 7 to 6 point win for the Dark Eldar. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. My opponent, any last comments?
Well, can say that those witches definitely did not die like they were supposed to. Their resilience is unreal, but I think if they had gone down a little bit sooner, I think I might have had a little bit more chance.
Yeah, if they held up that flank long enough. So make sure you stay tuned for the Tactical Corner that gets released every Thursday after the battle report, where I talk about the tactics and strategy and things that happen in the game that determine the outcome so you can improve your game. After all, this is Skari, your grateful host. Make sure you check the links down below to the army lists and all the other cool stuff, as well as the Patreon page. See you next time. Skari, out.